that the lack of promotions and withdrawal of allowances has affected the morale of practitioners across the country. Delegates meeting yesterday said the failure to declare doctors a national resource and reduce their challenges will see them resign. Among their demands is a pay grade structure review that will give them some 350,000 shillings as basic salary, up from 35,000 shillings, and allowances of up to 800,000 shillings. And joining me now to discuss this looming crisis is Dr. Allan Ochanji, who is the Vice Chair of the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
You know, because this issue just seemingly does not come to an end, one wonders why it has been so difficult to get the Council of Governors at the table and work out something that is amicable between the two, and or push for a constitutional amendment to have the health matter returned to national government. Why aren't we seeing doctors doing either?
Thank you, Anne, for having me. We've engaged the governors at every bit, but I think at some point they just know goodwill to do some of these things. Because the issue of posting for the doctors, for example, there was an intergovernmental body that was formed with the representation from the Council of Governors. The CECs were involved, the Public Service Board at the county levels were involved. They agreed on a mode of posting the new officers. When the new officers were posted, according to the recommendation of the body, the governors and the counties, which were well represented in that body, rejected them. So just back and forth, and what we are seeing is lack of goodwill to implement some of these things. And that's why we are saying, as a medical union, we have a myriad of challenges facing doctors in terms of human resource. Posting, as I've told you, one of them. Promotion, that doctors who have worked in a given job for more than 10 years. We have training. There are some counties like Baringo, for example, which have freezed completely training for doctors. They don't want to release them. We have issues to do with transfers. It's a nightmare coming from one county transferring to another one. We have officers working without call allowance. They have been removed from their pay slip. And so as doctors, yesterday the highest organ in terms of decision sat and came up with the way forward clearly. And this is what we were saying. That number one, implement the new scheme of service. Number two, have a centralized human resource to handle all these things. Number three, we have a different pay structure for doctors to handle the pay.
And we've enumerated that in the brief that I just read, but I suppose my question is, we have had this back and forth so often, and it's at the cost of human life. Literally, at least I think 12 Kenyans died at the last strike. Now you're talking about all doctors resigning. Did this function just work better when it was under national government, and why not just push to have it go back there?
It was at the national government. We had problems, yes, but it took a worse turn when it went to the counties. And there are two options that we can explore. The best will be a health service commission to handle all these things in one. If that is not possible, we could use the chapter 11 of the constitution, which talks about the devolved function in the devolved units in the government. If you look at 174 subsection G, it talks about equitable sharing of the national and the local resources. Doctors and their services is a very important resource that should be declared a national resource. And to that extent, you should go to the subsection 189, part 2, which talks about creation of intergovernmental body. If for some reason the health commission is not possible, it's possible to have an intergovernmental body that handles the human resource so that we don't have all these things back and forth.
And yet you've just talked about another intergovernmental body whose decisions clearly are being ignored by county government.
Maybe if I can clarify, we want it in law, not a lobby group. We want a body in law that has clear mandate and function to handle these things.
All right. There are claims that doctors are not being honest in the discourse, especially about the placement of other doctors. You'll hear from national government, you'll hear from county governments that what is happening is that the kind of skill set that counties require would tend to, and it would perhaps be more qualified doctors and not trainee doctors, are not being posted in the counties where they're most needed, in northeastern Kenya, etc. The doctors are saying no, they want to work in big town centers, etc. Is that in fact the case?
The more reason they want a central body, because once you have a central body deciding where you go, it's not your duty to decide where you go. Right now, you post officers to a given county, and they're rejected based on sometimes even their names. But if you have a central body that look at this important resource, even if you're posted to Northeastern, you will go there because it's the mandate of this body to decide where you're going and not yourself.
And finally, you have the CBA, which you've said is not being honored. There is the argument by national government and even by county government saying, you know what, at the time it was being signed, we didn't have the sort of constitutional framework in place where, you know, these are devolved functions. Would you be willing to go back to the table to renegotiate a new CBA directly with county governments? We've
always been willing, we've engaged, and we're willing to engage. But I could mention that the CBA, as you well know, that we took it to court. So it's one thing that is being determined at the court level, and we might not be at liberty to talk about it so much, but we are willing, and we've always been willing to talk and engage and find lasting solution to doctors' problems.
Dr. Allan Ochanji, Vice Chair, Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.